Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at AnyMoon.com's review of Waves Treasure Figure Collection 1/12 scale Kirikou and Fionna figures. These figures were released in January 2007 for 7,000 yen. The box for these figures is a little odd in that it's adorned with somewhat sexy art of both figures. You get shots of the abdomens and waists, you get kind of an up the skirt shot, a six-pack shot. But it does have a flip-top lid, so that's nice to see. So you can see the figures inside. Once you get inside the box, there's a tray behind the figures. So there's the display stands for the figures with the figures. But then in that tray behind, you have an extra arm, a fist meant for holding the helmet, a helmet for each figure. You get two guns, one with a hand gripping it. You get a neck piece, an extra holster, and then two breathing apparatus for Kirikou for use with his helmet. You get an extra arm for Fionna as well as a neck piece. So here is Kirikou, and one thing you need to know before we really get into this review is that there's no articulation on these figures. They are just fixed pose figures, but we do get those accessories that kind of let us swap that fixed pose for another one. So we'll begin by looking at the arm. We can pull the arm down. It's got a nice peg on it. The hand has a nice peg too, and that's how that all comes together. While I'm holding the arm, one nice detail to note is those are little metal rods underneath the elbow. So nice work there. Same thing on the other arm, nice little metal rods. So we can go ahead and we could put this hand back in if we wanted to, or we could take the hand that's gripping the gun and put that back on. Now some of these connections are a little looser than I might like. They will hold, but during handling I might be able to knock some things off. Now you can see if he's holding his gun, it doesn't really make much sense that he's got his gun holstered as well, so we can remove this part and install the holster that is lacking a gun, like so. So there you go. So now there he is holding his gun. And the other thing we might want to do is say, instead of holding the gun, let's have him hold his helmet. So here we have the helmet. Another thing to note, this toy can't stand up without that display stand base. You're going to need that base. So here's the helmet. It's got a nice little tube coming off the side. They didn't just mold it into the existing helmet, so that's nice. You can't really see a face in there, but he's got his goggles down, so it kind of covers up that fact. On the bottom, you'll see there's a couple different slots. We could take this hand here that has a peg for several of the fingers and put it into that slot, and then they give us an air canister that looks like it's been deposited into the slot, and it also plugs, let's see if I can get this right, plugs into this front mouthpiece. So there you go. Now it kind of looks like he's holding his helmet and he's put his air canister into the helmet. So that's a pretty slick look. We can, of course, also take the helmet off the hand and this canister. We could put the other canister in. We could install the neck. Which way does this guy go? Like that. We can remove the head. Put that on. We'll go back to the gun holding hand. Oops. And there you go. So now he's in his helmeted look. Now there's one accessory I didn't really know what to do with. They give you a gun that's not being held by a hand at all. So not really sure when you would have a chance to use that unless you want to just throw it down for some diorama purposes. But there you go. There are obviously several different options for poses to choose from, even though it is not an articulated figure. Like Kirikou, Fionna will not stand without her display base. Now you could, if you wanted to, swap out the display bases, but it's clear whose is supposed to go with who. Now she has her hand on her hip right now. I can remove that arm, and I can give her an arm where she's kind of grasping. And then we can take her helmet and we could put it in that arm. There you go. So now she's holding her helmet, and that looks cool enough. You could also pop off her head, and like the Kirikou toy, you can then find the neck piece that comes with it and put that in there, and then put that on. Now obviously That arm is not going to look nearly as good, but there you go. So now you can have her as her pilot appearance. Now obviously they've done spent a lot of attention on all of her curves. They even seem to have given her a little bit of weathering to accentuate those curves. So she is quite the sexy looking Fionna interpretation. I don't think many people are going to complain about that, but definitely something to be aware of going into this. All right, let's see how she compares to the Yamato toy. So what jumps out at you right away is that the Yamato scale is a little bit smaller. It's a allegedly 1/12 action figure, but in reality it's much smaller than that, and the wave figure is actually the proper scale. It's 14.5 centimeters tall roughly, while this is 13 centimeters tall, so too small over here. The other thing to think about is the Yamato figures, if all you're going to do is throw them into a cockpit, don't really matter much, right? Whereas if you're displaying them outside of the cockpit, maybe these wave figures actually present a better option for you. They're stable, you can't have fun posing them, but it does look good as is. Now where Yamato really shines in comparison to Wave is the lack of a face in the helmet. So if I put the helmeted figure head on, and I'm going to cheat a little with the Yamato, I'm supposed to replace the neck, but I'm not going to do that. If I take the hair off and then put the helmet with the visors up on there, just kind of pegs into place here, then you can still clearly see Fionna's face inside. So if you're going to go with a helmeted look, the Wave figure is definitely weak there, whereas the Yamato figure does get a point. Now, obviously the Yamato figure, a little tough to get stand on such tiny feet, but with a little patience, no lights, and a camera, you'll be able to pull it off. Zooming out, here is a Yamato 1/12 brutish dog. Here we have the Yamato 1/12 Fionna figure. She's articulated, so you can kind of make it look like she's hopping in, which definitely adds to the fun factor. All the Wave figure ever is going to do is look chill for you, but it does look very good doing that and much more in scale. So things to consider there. Let's check out Kirikou some more. Here's another larger scale comparison, and as you can see, just like with Fionna, the Wave figure is more appropriately scaled with the 1/12 Scope Dog toys, 3-0 and Yamato in this case. But again, no articulation, so while I've got the other pilot figures all looking like they're going to grab the hip bar and pull themselves into the Scope Dog, the Wave figure is just kind of waving hello to you. If you were to put the Wave figure on its display stand base, it would stand exactly the same height as the 3-0 figure, again kind of putting it right in that perfect 1/12 scale. So if you are looking for a toy that scales better with your Scope Dogs, and maybe you aren't a fan of the fabric look of the 3-0, then this Wave figure definitely gives you a solid option. Alright, here we have the three Kirikou figures. We have the 3-0, the Wave, and the Yamato. Again, the Yamato is definitely undersized. The Yamato and the Wave toy do not have fabric, which for some people is going to be a definite pro over there. Not everyone enjoys a good fabric suit like we have on the 3-0. The 3-0 toy obviously has full articulation, so you can do all those fun things with having it get in the Scope Dog, and it will always look just this good. So I would say the 3-0 actually does a pretty decent job, but it doesn't have a helmetless head. It just looks like it does. So if you are really into helmetless Kirikou figures, again, we can just pop the head off the Wave and put this head on. And Yamato also gave us the option, so we can pop the head off the Yamato. Now I am using the upgrade parts that came with the Fionna figures, so there's a longer abdomen here and a slightly larger head. And there we go. So here are the two heads in comparison. And again, the Wave toy, the right size gives it a little bit bigger head, which probably makes it a little bit easier to do a sculpt of it. The Yamato toy, not bad at all though. So if you're looking for something, again, to pose with your Scope Dogs without the helmet on, the Wave figure is going to look more natural next to the 3-0 since it looks very similar in height to the 3-0 pilot. Whereas the Yamato figure, if you're not quite aware how big the pilot is supposed to be, will function well also. So these figures are about 10 years old now, and what I haven't relayed yet is that these are a little tacky to the touch, which is a little bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. These toys are not toys, these are figures. They are not articulated. I've shown you that you can swap them out and do a couple different things with the pose, but really you're just buying these because you are comfortable with a static pose display next to your Scope Dog toys, and you feel like the articulated pilot figures that are available out there don't really do a good job. This is giving you another option. For the rest of you, I think articulated figures doing their climbing poses and stuff, you can have a lot of fun with that, and you can come up with some really cool displays that way. So these are definitely an acquired taste for people that have something very specific in mind, a look that they really wanted to achieve and they weren't getting from the other figures. This is your other option. Check out anymoon.com for my full article. And as always, thanks for watching.